Hi everybody, it's Jackie from Dunnock Studio in the heart of Norfolk. This channel is all about art with a heart, wherever your heart is. And I'd like to take you on a journey of exploration, especially if you're new to painting. Today's video is about sorting out your old sketches, your old paintings, maybe some that you weren't so happy about, and maybe adding something to them, not necessarily watercolour, but embellishing a painting that's just a bit flat or didn't quite work for you. So let's get right into it. It's a view down a river, or maybe a lake, or maybe a broad. We live near the Norfolk Broads, which is a very interesting place for nature. It's very nice, and this appears to be looking through some random bits of foliage. We've got like a hogweed or Queen Anne's lace, which is how I remember the smaller, lighter ones. I don't know what this is, could be anything. This is just me sketching out some ideas. I originally did this background and it was so very soft, it didn't have much going on, so I slapped these in front, which one broke the horizon, so gave you a nice interesting vertical line, and two was much stronger than this, so it's darker, more value, therefore a bit of a contrast, but it didn't really do anything more for me, so it got thrown in the pile. So how would I embellish this? Well, generally I'd get myself some pens of some description. So I've got some coloured pens, which I'll show you in close-up in a minute, and then some liner pens, which generally I work in a black, like this. This one is a uni pin, fine line, and then there's grey here, and this one's like a sepia colour. So the most important thing to look for with a liner pen is, if you're putting it on a painting, is it must be water and fade proof. So both of these ones have got that written on there, which you can just about see if I can get it to focus on there. If you put a pen that isn't either of those things, and I have done it, and then you may perhaps go back and do some more work on that painting, that pen is going to spread everywhere. Now some pens will spread when you first add water to them, and these are those pens. Now the interesting thing about these is you can add something to a painting, some different colours here, so you can probably tell that I'm not going to use the pink. Well, I'm not this time anyway. We've got two sort of dark, a dark and a paler violet there. These are Stabilos, and they are 0.88, which you might be able to see there, and they're fine. Now I got these from a local store, they're not expensive, but they come in lovely colours, so it's worth looking out for these, because when you put them on, if you leave them and dry, they'll be fine, but if you add water to them, they're gonna first of all spread, and then after that they never spread again. So you've got like one go at that, which is quite an interesting pen. So we'll go with a couple of those colours because they go with my colour scheme, and then I'm going to use my favourite black marker, which is a Micron, Pigma Micron pen. This is a 03 as well, so it's technically no different to this one, it's just a different make. So I tend to find the Pigmas have lasted me longer than the uni pins have, but we'll see. So I'm going to you could have different sizes in the black. I have done that in the past, but in all honesty I find it easier just to be lighter with my marks for further away, and a little bit heavier and closer together for the foreground. So if I was going to use this pen, say I wanted to embellish around this seed area here, let's maybe see if we can just get that a little bit closer for you. So if I'm doing it here, I'm going to add some dots on. I'm also adding these dots quite close to where the sky is pale, so there'll be a better effect than if I add these where it's dark. Then some just tiny ones spread them out a little bit, as if I'm adding some more to that seed head. Trick about embellishing your paintings is just to relax and just do what you want, really. There's no right or wrong to this. Now I'm just going to add some water. Can you see how that pen is running out into some really pretty effects there? Just not going to put water everywhere, just in a few places. So that's almost turned it into a flower-like effect, hasn't it? I quite like that. So we're going to carry on and do some more. And technique across, so it's not just in one area on the painting. So just a few more on this one to suggest there's a similar thing going on here. Now I don't have to dampen all these, but I must be mindful that if I don't set them with water, they could potentially move again if they ever got damp. So just a few more there. Then I'm going back in with my damp brush, just with some clean water on. And let's work from this side across. So just dropping some water on, softening some of those out so you get some effects. It's quite nice when it blooms away like that. Just take some of that additional water off. It's up to you how much you let this spread or how little. If your brush starts to get a lot of colour on it, you might want to just refresh it, rinse it out, squeeze off some of that water so you don't have a huge puddle. Because although your painting is dry, if you make this really wet, you're going to get some effects that you might not want pushing back into your paper and your background paint. So there we go. So might link some of these shapes together. So it sometimes looks better if they're linked rather than just one big, lots of little shapes. So that's worked quite well. So whilst that's drying, I've got the darker colour here, which is the same pen, Stabilo 0.88. So, can I use it on this bit of foliage here? Let's do some lines. Remember, any lines you're doing would come towards you as well as out. Same as trees. You wouldn't just have them going out from each side. You'd have some at the back, some at the front. So the ones in the front are coming almost straight up the stems. Quite a hard thing to get your head round, but so just scribble, doodle, have some fun with that. Maybe at the top, let's have a few little dots as if there's some seeds coming off. So get a little bit closer for you on that one. There you go. So I'm suggesting seeds, but I'm not going to keep these like this. I'm going to dampen these off as well. Maybe some bigger dots here and a few here. Then that'll do. Get my damp brush. Try not to make it all, that's a bit wet. There you go. See, that's a different colour. It's a bluey violet, much more on the blue side than it is before. The other one's much pinker. Yeah, that's working quite well. Put it down the stem so you could take. So if you're thinking it's looking a bit sort of solid and lumpy, just take a damp brush and let that pull that colour out. Oh, I love that effect. Soften the edges by taking the colour away. Whoop, way too much water. Just lift it off again. It's a nice effect. There we go. Just damping into there a little bit. Just take him off. And just got a bit of a line there, which you probably saw, just because I had a little bit too much water, but that's okay. Letting all of this dry now. I've got the colours that I want on there. I could perhaps add some pinks and things, but we'll just stick with those. So already this painting has got a little bit more life in it, a little bit more colour than it had before, without really going away from the colour scheme I had to start with. Looking at the edges of this water, So they come around either side here. So right at the back, I wouldn't be adding any particular pen lines. You could do, it's your picture, you can do whatever you like. But I'm going to leave that as very soft. But as I come to the front here, I'm just going to start mark making. And all I'm doing is just emphasising the side of this, maybe a bank here. So I'm just letting my pen go for a walk, not worrying about if it's the right thing or the right place. So I'm using horizontal lines because the water would be horizontal, and that just works for me. If you do the edge as if you're following that horizontal feeling, and as you're nearer the front, just you could do more lines. As you come out the back here, just start getting lighter and lighter with your mark making until you perhaps have a few little dots, and that's probably enough there. Now I could then use my pen to add some dark lines here that are vertical, but I wouldn't do that necessarily here. You could, if you wanted to, have them popping out the water, make it a little bit more obvious. If I was doing that, I'd put a slight line on the water just to suggest it's coming through something there, so maybe like the effect of a ripple, but don't go too mad on this. You've done a painting, it's all soft and lovely. You start overdoing this bit and you could lose it. So yeah, that's working quite well. So you can now see how that bank is coming into focus a lot more than the background is. So if we repeat the process over here, that's probably enough for that. So in the background here I've got some sort of shrubby thing here, so I could perhaps use some different marks just to suggest there's some shrubs there. The paint here has bloomed a little bit, so I'm using that as a starting point for where I could perhaps add the suggestion. There's some scrub here. Maybe there'd be some birds in there, and in our parts of the world we have stone chats and all sorts of other lovely birds. My favourite is the Chetty's warbler, which really shouts at you when you come close to it. It's such a funny little bird, but extremely hard to see. So I would imagine there'd be a Chetty's warbler hiding in here somewhere. So that's that first area there. Now I could pretend that this colour change here is another scrub area, so I carry that back a little bit more, but my marks are much lighter now. And if you did have smaller pen, this is where you'd switch to your smaller liner. Just suggest something or other. We don't know what they are. Could be anything really. This side is less defined, so I'm just going to put a few just random marks there. I've done some weird and wonderful things coming out of the foreground which haven't really succeeded, so I could just follow on with those and perhaps suggest some twiggy spiky things, like a bit of who knows what they are. I'm going to have a couple of those. So when you've got a line underneath in paint, don't feel like you have to go over it exactly as the line before. Use that line to go along next to, or just parallel to, or completely and utterly do a different line out of that area completely, and then that will give you some depth. So probably got enough on there. See how that's now popped forward. So this side we've now got this sort of seed head that's now getting to the point it's dry. This one here was overdone slightly, and let's just feel. It's still a bit damp, so I won't do any work on that. And also you can tell that the stem I did when I painted it is way too strong. So it sort of overwhelmed the picture really, because it was just a hard line. I didn't soften it or anything. So now I'm just going to work with that stem. Again, add in some detail where I feel it needs it. Maybe having twiggy bits coming off. Now there's a stem that's crossing it, so it's my choice whether that's behind or in front. So if I run alongside it on either side, I can suggest that the biggest one is behind. So I'll show you that in close up. So if I run alongside that central one and have some nice marks coming around it, it's slightly lost there, but it's more likely to be that this one is, the larger one is behind, the smaller one appears to be in front. But this is, you know, I'm getting a bit technical there, so forget any of that. Just have a scribble and let your brush, sorry, your pen go for a walk. See where it takes you. So then that's a stem there, which I might loosely follow. Great thing I think about doing the pen work is when you get to this position where you've got some stuff going on here, you can link back from it with some really lovely pen marks to suggest that they're all coming out from somewhere. This is all joined. We don't know how. It's a little bit wet in there. Slightly too soon, wasn't I? So let's run that down like that. So where there's a gap, I might just add suggestion like that. It's a bit like a tree, isn't it? But it's obviously not a tree, it's just something blooming on the side. This one, we've got something here, we don't know what this is. So instead of putting colour on this one, let's do some random black dots. Now remember, if I was to put water on this particular pen, because this one is waterproof and fade proof, but the waterproof bit, as soon as it's on here and it's dried, as in seconds after I put it on here, I won't be able to move that now with water, but it's a bit different to the other pen. So I've done a few dots. Let's have some over here just randomly. Some in the front because things would be in front of you as well. Now go back to that line idea. There we go, that looks much nicer than it did before. So I might even do similar on this strange one that's coming out. Let's assume he's coming out of there. And he would be maybe similar to the shape above, who knows. Let's just do some random shapes like that. This is where I would have my music on, and just draw my way around the painting. So with that in mind, I shall continue and pop some music on for you so you can join in with your own painting. Obviously it's not going to be the same as mine. Just get your pens out and have a scribble all over your painting and see if it looks any better, or if it doesn't, does it matter because you still enjoy doing it. So was this picture worse when I started, or is it worse now? There's the question. But the most important thing is I've enjoyed having a little play with my painting, making more of what was there before, learning from my mistakes and learning how next time I put a painting like that together not to have really heavy lines on my stems, because now I've drawn over them I realised just how heavy and harsh they were. I could lift those out and do that side of it today, but no, today was all about adding some pens. So we did coloured pens, we didn't do the pink, we did a light and dark violet and a black. So hopefully that was helpful. You've just been playing with colours, you've got a blob of paint, you did something, you don't know what it was. So you could play with these as well. This is tiny, look how small it is compared with my brush. What could I do with this? Well, I just seen something, so let's see what happens if I try to draw what I can see, and whether or not you could see as well. And voila, a little pussycat. Hope that was fun. There we go. That's me done. It's not the end of the world if a painting doesn't work, because every time you do a painting you learn something, and you might feel at the time that you're not learning anything, but believe me, you are. My top tip for this video is do not throw away your original paintings. The ones that you start off with are the most important for when you look back, because you will improve. Whether you think you will or not, you will improve. So hang on to those paintings so you can go back in a year's time and just compare how you've got on. Happy painting everyone, hope you have a good time. I'll see you on the next video. Take care, bye for now.